What up, Buckeye Nation? Welcome to the Scoop. Got a big show planned for you guys. A lot of things happening in Buckeye Nation right now on the recruiting trail. Getting ready for a big game. All type of things going on. We got the intel here. We got some inside info about Legend Bay, man. What's going on there? What's going on with the Chris Henry Jr. recruitment? It's all over the place. People saying this, people saying that. We'll dive into that a little bit tonight. And obviously on Saturday, big time game coming up. Number one, Ohio State against number two, Indiana. We're going to dive into that a little bit tonight as well. But first, you guys know what to do. You guys have been doing awesome at this. Hit that like button for me if you could. Hit the subscribe button as well. Go on over to Apple Podcast. Hit the like over there. And you know where you can get this information a little bit sooner than on this video here, and that is on the Scoop message board, guys. If you're not on that thing, go over there, sign up for it. A lot of good info over there. Super chats are open as well. They go to our Pay It Forward, help out the veterans who help us out so much every single day. Without further ado, got to bring in my good friend Nevada to break down all this crazy drama. Nevada, should we just get rid of Ohio State football, or what are you thinking?
Man, it's so funny because I'm not surprised by much anymore. But like yesterday, I'm getting ready for a really uneventful signing day. You know what I'm saying? I'm just kind of thinking we'll just sit back. The letters of intent will kind of stream in. We'll kind of check the boxes. We'll do the thing, and we'll kind of move along. And then all heck broke loose. Just all sorts of pandemonium and guys flipping and stopping and not going and whatever it is. But I gotta say. And in your intro, we didn't cover it, but I wanted to, Jaquadian Guilford coming to the Buckeyes. That's big get right there in the midst of all this craziness. But of all the crazy stories that we've had so far this time, I gotta say the Legend Bay one is the most crazy. It's the absolute most crazy, and it's one of those stories that you kind of hear. We've seen these situations before with other kids at other schools. I've seen moms walk out from signing day things to like walk off the set when the kid picked another thing or whatever it is. But yeah, you've got a picture up right there. That's Legend Bay's thing for his signing day at his school. And I said yesterday he was dressed up like the love child of Buckeye guy and Big Nut. You know what I'm saying? So he's head to toe in Ohio State stuff, got his Ohio State thing, Ohio State colors, Ohio State thing, and then his mom won't sign the paperwork. There seems to be a little bit of controversy right now as to whether or not I got it from some pretty credible people that he actually signed the paperwork to Ohio State and that his mom contacted Ohio State and asked him to rescind the letter of intent from Ohio State. And I think that's what happened. I think Ohio State is like, look, we don't want anybody to be here who doesn't want to be here. So they rescinded it. Legend then goes and signs with Tennessee under crazy duress. And then today, Legend goes on and puts out a post on X, which is quickly deleted. But it basically, you can read it there on the thing, but it basically says, my brother has my account and they won't let me have access to it because I won't sign to the school with him that him and my mother want. And then that post got deleted. So it's literally like Legends in a hostage situation right now. So I'm thinking that we need to mobilize the Devon SWAT team and just go out there and rescue Devon, man. You know what I'm saying? Rescue Legend with Devon. You can have Devon. You can have your little dog. What's your
Yes.
dog's name? Freaky,
Tinker.
Tinker,
Tinker.
Tinker the dog. Tinker the dog and Devon can get on the road and head out there and save Legend Bay. But here's the good news, guys. For in all the craziness, I actually think he's going to flip back to Ohio State, and he turns 18 in 2.5 weeks, 3 weeks, and at that point in time, does not need anybody's counter signature to go. And I think that there's a lot of pressure from inside of Tennessee now. Tennessee boosters to saying to Tennessee, let him out of his LOI. Kid obviously doesn't want to be here. Let him out of his LOI. But if that doesn't happen, I'm predicting that he will transfer to Ohio State in the first portal window once he turns 18, doesn't need a counter signature in terms of doing it. But an absolutely wild story with Legend Bay. And I don't know if you wanted to jump in there or Tinker wanted to say anything or anything like that, but that's what I got on Legend Bay.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, Matt, I have a little bit of experience in going and rescuing people. I used to work for a ministry, and my job duties were to go find teenagers that were stuck in drug addiction and go into where they were and physically pull them out of the home for the parents. So that was a fun thing I had to do. It's a little bit more serious, but we could reverse the roles, and that's what it's looking like here. A lot of people
Wait, wait,
thinking
wait, wait,
these
wait, wait,
posts.
wait, wait a second, Devin. So you were like that guy on like the Maury show or something like that with a kid and scare straight. Did you wear like the little hat and like the drill instructor and like yell at the kids and pull them out of there or anything else like that?
No, 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 no. It was
Did
the
you have
nice,
did
sweet. It was
did
the nice,
did
sweet approach.
did you have a special uniform or anything? Did you carry like a pitchfork or anything like that? Nothing
Nah,
like that.
nah,
Oh
I didn't
man.
carry a pitchfork. I mean, I had a couple people with me, but the cops came. The cops came with me, so that was helpful. That helped intrigue people to let this kid out of your house. But like I said, I still got some connects. So I can make some phone calls. But literally, that's what you said. This whole situation. It's so unbelievable, Nevada, that a lot of people are trying to say Legend Bay's Twitter account got hacked because he also put this out. When you look this, I mean, this is supposed to be Coach Locke and Ryan Day, says we have our back. Legend Bay posted that himself. So a lot of people are saying that, but you nailed it, man. Yesterday, he turned in his letter of intent with Ohio State, but because he was only 17, Ohio State couldn't accept it. And his mom would not sign off on it. And it was a big ordeal. Like inside of the high school, the coaches were on his side. Okay. And then the mom came in, pulled him to the side for an hour, took him away from everybody. And by the time they come back, the letter of intent was into Tennessee already. And now it's being said that it's not even his signature on the letter of intent for Tennessee. That's kind of what's happening right now. That's the last thing I read. That's the last thing I heard. So this is turning kind of crazy. And honestly, Mike Roach put out a thing that says, "Yo, Legend Bay, the second that he gets the opportunity, he is flipping back to Ohio State. It's happening." Like you got multiple sources reporting this now that the second that Legend Bay gets the opportunity, he is going to be a Buckeye. So this is wild to me. It's insane that that's why it's so easy to believe that his Twitter got hacked because it's like this doesn't even sound believable. Like your kid wants to go there, and it's not even the mom reportedly. Supposedly, the brother is in charge of his social media accounts too, allegedly. And his brother and parents allegedly keep deleting these things that he is posting. But it's quite obvious yesterday, decked out in Ohio State gear, did an interview Wednesday morning that said, I am totally locked in with the Buckeyes. I don't care Brian Hartline left. I'm a Buckeye. I'm locked in, was super excited, stoked about it. Ohio State fully expected him to sign inside the Woody. They were like, no, we're not worried about this at all. The kid's a Buckeye. Everything's going to be fine. And then the tables just got flipped and turned. And now we're here where it's looking like he's going to go against what his mom and his family once done because I've always been curious how Tennessee gets some of these recruits that they get. And we know some shenanigans go on behind the scenes that Ohio State will not be a part of. But I think this really sheds some light to how the recruiting industry is. And it's just like, man, look how much pressure do you think Tennessee is putting on his mom and his family members for their family to do this to their own child? That sounds like a lot of pressure is being applied from somewhere over something is what it sounds like to me. This whole thing is wild. It's just one of the negative parts about NIL and about where this recruiting industry has went. This is one of the downfalls. This is why the clearinghouse was put in place in CSC, which is clearly, obviously, absolutely irrelevant at this point in time. But anything to add to that, Nevada?
Well, a couple things. One, we're Sports Talk Jay when we need him, man. We need to get the Tennessee insiders' perspective on this one.
Oh
Secondly,
yeah.
this is such a weird story because he's not a Tennessee kid, right? They don't live in Tennessee. This is a Texas kid. So the fact that I mean, you almost not saying I understand it, but it would be more understandable if he was like a Tennessee kid and the mom wanted to stay home and then the hometown team but like they live in Texas. So I've heard a lot of rumors. I don't want to repeat unsubstantiated rumors about the mom being offered stuff by Tennessee, but that's what it sounds like. I mean, I just I don't understand how it could be, any other way in terms of, this diehard commitment to a school that she's got no connection to. They're not from there. And like I said, I find the whole situation just absolutely bizarre. Having said that, I do believe that, as you mentioned, I think this one's got a happy ending. I think he ends up as a Buckeye. That's generally how these stories work on the stuff. The parents generally at some point realize, what am I doing? Why am I pushing my kid to go somewhere? Especially when it's not like she's picking, this grade A school and Ohio State's a dump, or Ohio State's a terror. I mean, Ohio State is the gold standard for all of college football programs right now. And just a crazy, crazy story. But I do believe Legend Bay ends up and I'd be excited about that because I want to see him. I want to see how they utilize his talents as a Buckeye. I want to see him, in the uniform as a running back, as a quarterback, whatever they want to do with them. But right now, it's just one of the weirdest stories of the 2025 thing. Maybe one of the weirdest stories I've had in the past 10 years. But we'll have to see where it ends up. Stay tuned, and we'll have more for you.
Yeah, and it's even crazy, Nevada, to say that this is only one of the crazy stories that we have to talk about here. We have another kind of unprecedented thing where Brian Hartline leaves National Signing Day morning, okay, and is trying to get a hold of recruits at 3 a.m. in the morning to let them know. And now we wind up in this situation. But here we go. I do want to say this. Jaquaden Guilford still hasn't turned in the paperwork officially, but he did repost his commitment to Ohio State. Number one player in Indiana. Dude is a unit. Dude's a big time, really rose in the rankings from number like 500 and something to the number 132 player nationally. He could possibly make an impact here. It was Chris Henry and him we were waiting on. In my mind, if we sign one of these guys, I'm going to be a lot of relief is going to come over me. And that's exactly what happened. This cat has the potential to make an impact. As soon as he gets here, that's the type of player he is. 6'2", 190 pounds already. Just a big-time football player. Go watch his senior film, and you will see that he plays some serious football, man. But we're on to the Chris Henry Jr. saga. This goes to a kid that's been committed to us forever, a kid that shut down his recruitment, but also said, everybody always said, hey, as long as Brian Hartline's here, Chris Henry's going to sign here. Then we get to this point in time where Chris Henry still has not signed anywhere. People are reporting it's a done deal. He's gone to Oregon, but still hasn't happened. I haven't seen it anywhere. It could be happening right now, and I don't know it. That wouldn't be the first time it's happened to me on a live show. But it first started off with, hey, man, Ohio State didn't get a hold of Chris Henry Jr. early enough. He was blindsided when he showed up because he committed to Ohio State the morning at Mater Dei on the announcement. They announced him going to Ohio State. He comes back later, tweets out that he's going to try to make a decision. Everybody's saying USC and Texas are involved. Not true. It's an Ohio State, Oregon battle right now. The interesting thing, Nevada, here's the interesting part, is that Brian Hartline leaves, right? And his coach is gone. Wide receiver coach is gone. And that's what he tweeted out. Hey, because of coaching changes, man, I don't know the decision I'm going to make now. Well, when you look at the Oregon side, they just lost their director of recruiting personnel. He's now the GM at Kentucky. They just lost their offensive coordinator in Will Stein. He's the head coach of Kentucky now. And they just lost their defensive coordinator. Tosh Lapoy is now the Cali head coach as well. So, I'm not bashing the kid, but it's just like, to me now, we obviously know what this is about, right? And it's being rumored that Oregon has come in with a $2 million a year offer to sign Chris Henry Jr. And we know Ohio State is just not going to go to those lengths. They want players to come here that want to be Buckeyes. I'm not saying it's over because Chris Henry Jr., a lot of connections to Ohio State, younger brother being recruited hard in the 27 class to play basketball here. Sister plays for Ohio State. And this as well, I can't tell you how many Buckeye fans I've seen wearing number 15 Henry Ohio State jerseys. I'm curious about it. if he signs with Oregon, does he have to return any money for all those Ohio State Chris Henry jerseys? What's going on here, Nevada? You got any intake or
Well,
intel on
well,
this?
yeah, yeah. I think this is one of those situations that it seems like it's slipped away. Now, like as you said, I don't think it's done yet, but it seems like it's pretty much done in terms of him going in. I agree with you. I was kind of in the boat of if you lose Guilford and Chris Henry, that's really bad. If you lose one of them, it's bad. Not gonna, but it's not the end of days. And the one thing I put out a post this morning, and I believe this from the bottom of my heart, based upon information I'm getting from Ohio State, information I'm getting from the agent community. Ohio State has made a commitment that if they don't get Chris Henry Jr., who they promised early playing time to, they are aggressively going to redeploy that money into the portal. So it was only about whether or not they spent the money on Chris Henry or put the money in the portal. And you think about their portal pitch right now to any kid that's the wide receiver in the portal, Chaz Coleman, Nick Marsh, whatever it might be. You go to them and say, look, you're going to be thrown to by Julian Sain. On the other side of the field from you is going to be JJ Smith, who's going to take all the double teams, and you're going to be singled up. And the last guy that was up there was Carnell Tate, and he went first round to the league. You know what I'm saying? So it's an easy sell for Ohio State, and Ohio State is committed to going to the portal. Why, you ask? Are they going to the portal? Does this mean they don't have faith in the wide receivers on the current roster? I think it's more emblematic of Ohio State believes that 2026 is another national championship or bust type of year, and they want to make it unfair. They want to, they're Ryan Day is absolutely committed to being ruthless in terms of upgrading his team any way he can. And if there are elite, proven wide receivers in the portal, Ohio State's going to go after them. And you're right. What I'm hearing is Ohio State's offering, and the deal with Chris Henry Jr. has always been $1 million, which is the same amount of money that they paid JJ Smith as a freshman. Oregon is offering $2 million. And what I'm hearing from the Chris Henry side is, yeah, Oregon's had some upheaval, Ohio State's had some upheaval, so that makes it about even. We're even on the upheaval side, but 2 million is greater than 1 million, and it's so much greater, especially for a kid who's had a torn ACL, that it's going to tip the scale. So we'll see if that ultimately goes. I've always thought there was a lot of reasons that Chris Henry Jr. Pulling him back to Ohio State, but do I really fault somebody for taking $2 million over $1 million? Probably not. That's a lot of money. It's a lot of money for anybody. Certainly, there's no guarantee for Chris Henry Jr. that he turns out to be great. I mean, he could turn out to be the next Julian Fleming, or he could turn out to be the next Marvin Harrison Jr., or he could turn out to be. You just don't know where he's going to fall, on the spectrum. But I do know that Ohio State is committed that if that money is not spent on Chris Henry Jr., it's going to be deployed in the portal aggressively to bring in a experienced, proven wide receiver. And for at least for 2026, that's a good trade for Ohio State. Now, beyond that, maybe Chris Henry Jr. goes on to become Megatron and the greatest wide receiver that we've ever seen. And, and we all are sad for a couple of years. But in terms of 2026, a proven kid's going to come in and be way better than any incoming freshman. So I'm okay with where we're at. No one kid's going to sink my mood about beating Michigan last weekend, being number one in the country, being the defending national champions, being on a 16-game winning streak. Uh, I'm just not that bothered by it, and I'm much more encouraged by Ohio State's willingness to go into the portal and reallocate the money. That actually excites me.
Yeah, a couple things here, man. It's like I understand that this stings. I understand that it hurts. Chris Henry Jr., originally from Ohio, we know his story, we know his background, or not originally. I don't know, originally from Ohio. I'm not sure about that, but obviously played high school football in Ohio, transferred to Mater Dei. He's been committed here for quite some time. Comes out, shuts his recruitment down, even after all these flipping stories are coming about. Con 3 and making up stuff at time. Well, I mean, a blind squirrel finds a nut every once in a while. Brian Hartline leaves, and he actually is going to flip, possibly. So I get that it hurts as Ohio State fans, but here's the truth. This does not affect us right now. And also, it doesn't affect us for next year. Have you guys paid attention to what has happened in college football this year? Look at all the changes, man. Look at all the coaching changes. Look at all this. And look at the past of Ohio State. I mean, we have Julian Sayin as our quarterback. That happened in 1 week, guys. That was a 1 week transition. The week before, we had Air Nolan. We were questioning, hey, what are we going to do at the quarterback position? A lot of faith in Air Nolan. And then the very next week, we have the number one quarterback in Julian Sayin on our roster, right? So there's give and take in today's era with Nil and the transfer portal and all that. We have no idea. Jim Knowles leaves last year. Everybody freaks out. What are we going to do? We had the number one defense in the nation. Well, guess what? We upgraded. We have a better defense now, as Juliet Pettijohn so gladly pointed out to us on X yesterday. Shout out to her as well for that reminder. So, Nevada, you talk about this a lot too. I mean, the truth is we're worrying about something that's really going to affect the team 2 years down the road. Okay, that's just the truth of the matter. You look at the roster right now. We get Jeremiah Smith next year. Quincy Porter, Mylan Graham's on this roster. Brandon Ennis probably going to come back. I mean, there's all these things. You just never know. There's plenty of opportunity for the Buckeyes. The Buckeyes are going to be fine. But trust me, I'm with you on the sting of this. In Nevada, I also say this. A lot of people, I made a post on Twitter, and a lot of people were like, the Buckeyes need to start playing this money game. And this is the best way I can explain this to you guys. If you love the culture and the brotherhood that is Ohio State, then you can only that you can't have both sides of this. There's a reason why the culture and the brotherhood is the way it is, because we avoid scenarios where you convince a recruit to sign to you because of money. Because if a recruit is ultimately going to commit to a school because of the bigger bag, and I'm not saying that's bad, I'm not faulting them. Everybody has their own opinion. I do have my opinion on that, but that's not what this is about. What this is about is if somebody can be bought to come to you, then they can be bought to go away from you. And why do you think Ohio State didn't have any transfers out of the spring portal? That's another reason why this brotherhood is so close. Everybody stayed. Everybody stayed because the Buckeyes bring in people that come here for the brotherhood, for the culture, for the Block O, for the development. Money is on their list. I'm not saying the Buckeyes don't play. We just told you they're offering them $1 million, but they do not want players that are coming strictly for the money. Caleb Downs didn't. J.J. Smith didn't. Look at the type of players they are. The best defensive player in the nation and the best offensive player in the nation did not go to their school because they chose money. So if you're a fan that wants the Buckeyes to fork up $2 million for Chris Henry Jr., then here is the truth. You can throw that culture and that brotherhood away because it just brings a certain dynamic. I want you guys to think about this. DeCorian Moore, the number one receiver in last year's class, playing for Oregon this year, doing quite well. Oregon brings in a receiver that's never played college football at all, and the second he steps on campus, he's making more than DeCorian Moore. How is DeCorian Moore going to take that? How would you take that? You're the number one receiver. You got a whole year of work in. You put it on the field. You killed it. Blood, sweat, and tears on the field. Did really good on the field. Number one wide receiver. And then they bring in a freshman that's never played a snap in his day, and he is making more money than you immediately. Now, there are exceptions to that, the Jeremiah Smiths. That's kind of understandable. But I think we can all agree Chris Henry Jr. is not Jeremiah Smith. He's not. He's not that type of player. I'm not hating on him. I am very sad if we don't land him. Dude has the opportunity to be elite with his size and stuff. So there's a lot that goes into this. I understand the sting that occurs, but listen, man, we love watching these Buckeyes because of how close they play, the culture, all these things. The Buckeyes have a strategy, man, and that strategy of having players come here for the development, for the brotherhood, for the culture is what has this team doing what they're doing right now. The number one team in the nation, about to play in the Big Ten title, favorites to win the national title, and then going on the next year too. So many things can change. We will be all right. Nevada, you got anything to add to that before we kind of move on? Because we got something big going on another huge thing with this Big Ten title game, and this has kind of stolen that thunder a little bit, even for me. I've been thinking about this, all these sagas going on with recruiting, and our Buckeyes are about to play the number 2 team in the nation for the first time ever. Both Big Ten teams, 1 and 2, undefeated, first time ever playing.
Well, yeah, and they released the all Big Ten. They did the defense yesterday, did the offense today. Um, you know, Fernando Mendoza over Julian Sain for quarterback, Mendoza for player of the year. No Buckeyes on the first team offensive line. Carter Smith, the big local kid that wanted to come back to Ohio State as offensive lineman of the year. I mean, look, there's a lot of motivation around. You always wonder. Your motivation's where you find it. And with Ohio State coming into the Big Ten championship game on Saturday, I think the all Big Ten team, you know, over whatever you want to call them, I think has provided some fuel for Ohio State, because on both sides of the ball, they're talking about, wow, our offensive line really got disrespected. Our quarterback got really disrespected. And I think, they want to set that right on Saturday. And I really do believe that's going to be one of the storylines in the game. I think Ohio State's going to be playing that game with a big time chip in their shoulders, or regarding these what happened today with the all Big Ten teams. And so, yeah, no, big game. um this is why, and this is my last time I'm going to say it, but I'm gonna have to say it one more time. I wish Hartline had just done this on Sunday. I wish Hartline had just done this on Sunday. And for the crowd that's going to come in with the holier than thou, well, no, Brian just wanted to be 100% transparent and honest. I'll remind you that if we're to believe Ryan Day and Brian Hartline were surprised that this leaked yesterday, right? That was what was said. So implicit in that is they didn't want it to come out yesterday. So how transparent and honest were they really being? They didn't want it to come out yesterday. They came clean once it came out, and then they had to deal with damage assessment. But like, I just wish that this had just been. I wish that Brian had said to South Florida, "Look, I'm interested, but this week is crazy. We've got National Signing Day. We've got the Big Ten championship game. I don't think it's fair to my current team to really pay to do this right now. Can we let's talk Sunday?" And I think South Florida would have waited. I think South Florida would have waited that way. And Helping Technician had a great nugget up today on our message board talking about the change of heart in Brian Hartline. Now, Brian Hartline had gone around and made a big deal about how his agent had turned down Penn State, not even wanting to have a conversation with them, and that seemed to indicate that he wanted to be here for the long term. And Brian has seemed to have gotten the indication from Ryan that Ryan's tenure here may be longer here than we thought, and that Ryan may not be, Ryan's only 48 years old. So if Ryan wants to stay here another 10 years or 15 years, maybe Brian Hartline's like, look, I don't want to stay here that long, and now I'm going to start looking for jobs. And South Florida came, and Brian played down there with the Dolphins. He's kind of a brand down there. That's where he gets a lot of his kids from South Florida Express. So that job became attractive to him. So there's a lot of different things going on here. I just wish it had been done Sunday, because I agree. I feel a little robbed of the excitement of the Big Ten championship game, the 1 versus 2, the biggest, postseason Big Ten championship game in Big Ten history for sure. Certainly for in Ohio State as well. And I wish that we didn't have to be dealing with all this, but we are. So you know, this is
Dude,
where we are, and these are the cards that have been dealt us, and let's go.
I just can't help but agree with you, man. I mean, honestly, I wanted to like process through this stuff before that, but when you dive into this, right, in today's recruiting world, I mean, right, you got the crowd that wants Ohio State to not follow the rules and not follow the CSC and the clearinghouse rules and all that. Well, if you're in that crowd, okay, then you can't be in the crowd that says, no, I'm glad Ryan Day, or I'm glad Coach Hart was honest about what he did here, man. Dude, this is a dog eat dog world, man. And I agree. Horrible timing. Even if USF is the one that leaked it, it's like man, there was ways for Brian to avoid that. And I love Coach Hartline, what he's done for this program. Absolutely amazing. It does suck, dude, that this is how he leaves. This is the last feeling that I get of Brian Hartline being a coach here, is that he does this on the morning of National Signing Day. It sucks for me as a fan because I'm still such a fan, still will be. I'll get over it. I'll get over myself and my thoughts and feelings on the matter. But dude, it's just at the expense of Ohio State. Ohio State is the only one that's going to have to deal with these issues now, and it just sucks, man. I hate it. I hate it. So reading everybody that I read your stuff on the board yesterday, and I was trying to decide, dang, is this how I feel too? Like, because that was there for me, right? And I was just trying so hard to not feel that way because of everything Brian Hartline has done for this program. But dang, bro. I mean, wait a week. Tell USF, tell them, yeah, I will. But if this is leaked, I'm not going to do it or something. I don't know.
I mean, Devin, again, keep in mind, he only told them after it leaked. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, they only told them when the story. So it wasn't Brian being 100% honest in terms of transparent.
Yeah.
I just, that's a fact. Unless we think Ryan Day lied, and I don't think Ryan. I'm not going to call Ryan Day a liar. I don't think Ryan Day lied about it. I don't think they wanted it out yesterday, so they didn't want to tell him. They just ended up telling them. It'd be like if somebody, your wife asks you a question or finds out something, and then you tell her, "Well, you didn't come clean. You admitted it after
Wait.
you were told." You know what I'm saying? It's like,
Yeah.
that doesn't count. That's not, you don't like, hey, I get points for honesty. It's like, no, I busted you. And now you're telling me it after the fact. I mean, that's kind of what happened. And I think that's where kind of the recruits are at on this thing. So, for Ohio State, I just wish it had been done on Sunday. I mean, when Tom Herman did it, he did it on December 16th or whatever it was when he went. And again, as I said last night on my podcast, I don't begrudge Brian Hartline leaving for a job one bit, man. Go be a head coach, go do your thing, go with God, be a successful, go do it, Brian. Just don't do it on signing day. I mean, come on, man. But he did, and here we go. And if we get Guilford and we end up with Nick Marsh or Chaz Coleman or whomever as a wide receiver, you know what? It's fine. It's just fine. And Chris Henry can go on and be amazing at Oregon, and maybe he'll be great. Maybe he won't. And I know I won't care because I just follow the Buckeyes, and I wish him well. And maybe he swings back to Ohio State. So hey, lots of things going on right now on the recruiting thing. But to me, the big news was Bay potentially flipping back, getting Guilford. And as far as I know, as we're sitting here right now at 7:36, Eastern time, I don't believe that Chris Henry Jr. has signed. Yeah, now maybe that could be at 7:38. The dream could be over, but I'm an optimist, and I'm gonna stay optimistic till the bitter end.
Yeah, I'm going to as well. I think the longer this goes on, the better for us. That's the way I feel. But you're right, man. I mean, Legend Bay possibly coming back into this class, getting Jaquaden Guilford, and then the other nugget that just got a little bit. I don't think people quite heard you, man. Why did Brian Hartline had a change of heart? Because he had a discussion with Ryan Day. And Ryan Day said, hey, I think I'm probably going to be here a little bit longer than what I initially planned. So good news there is that Ryan Day, the head of all this success, the one that makes all these decisions, and part of the reason all these receivers have success is in his scheme because of his quarterback development. You can be a great receiver, but if you don't have a quarterback in the scheme to get you the ball and get you open, good luck with that. So that's another big time part of this. So it's about perspective, guys. But we're on to the Big Ten title game, Nevada. And as you said, this could possibly be for the Heisman as well. Fernando Mendoza already voted best whatever of the year. Kind of laughable to me when you look when he has played defenses that are worth anything. He throws for 62% completion and has to have a Heisman moment because he played so poorly against a team that started a red shirt freshman at quarterback that he had to go down and have his Heisman moment. So a lot in this. Indiana fans talking absolutely crazy. Now, Indiana, really good team. Really good team. They were a really good team last year, too. I feel like we had the same type of talks last year before they came into the horseshoe and got absolutely stomped into the ground, because that's what happened last year. They got stomped into the ground in the horseshoe. It's really hard for me not to remember that. It's really hard for me not to have the same type of feelings that when you stack up both teams as far as football teams and coaching, they look pretty comparable. But when you dive in a little deeper and compare each player, right, to each player, me and Dalton from PFF did that last night, Nevada. These Buckeyes are loaded with first round talent. Indiana is not. I think they're just going to be Ohio State's going to overpower with talent alone. I mean, I don't know, Nevada. Give your initial thoughts on this game.
Yeah, no, I think from doing a pretty deep dive film review, talking to really smart people and talking to people inside the program, I don't think the game needs to be close. I really don't think the game needs. I don't think there's no need for this to be a one score game, win on a field goal, whatever. I mean, we're better than Indiana at almost every position on the field, and I think we're gonna play. Our approach is fast and loose, because the good news is it doesn't really matter. You know what I'm saying? Like win, lose. Do I want to win? Of course I do. I want to win for the seniors. I want it for the team to win the Big Ten title, for saying to win the Heisman, to have the number one seed, blah blah, all those things. But if you lose the game, you may have an easier path to the final. You don't know, in the way that the brackets are drawn up. You don't know if the three seed's going to be an easier seed, easier path, or the two seed or what. But we're going to have a first round bye regardless, and we're going in. And I think we're in a situation where it's like, it's a crazy opportunity for Ohio State to play our best football with no fear, with absolutely no fear, with absolutely no consideration about what's the worst that can happen if we lose, or and I think that's, we talked about Ryan Day, the new Ryan Day, the new fearless Ryan Day, and we saw a little bit at Michigan. I think we're going to see a fully operational Battlestar on Saturday with Ohio State. And I think these gaffes by the Big Ten in terms of the all Big Ten team have just added a little bit of extra spice to this game. And I think Ohio State's going to lay it on Indiana on Saturday night. I really do. I think talent matters. I think coaching matters. And I think Julian Saint's much better than Fernando Mendoza. And I think you're going to see that on Saturday night.
Yeah, I love it, man. I love that you're keeping this saying this game doesn't have to be close. I love that. We got to get that put on a shirt with a Scoop logo or something. Real fast, guys. Got to give a shout out to you guys. Number one, take a little break here. Hit that like button if you haven't already. Hit the subscribe button as well. Go over to Apple Podcast. There are currently 6,100 people watching us right now across YouTube and Twitter. I really appreciate everybody watching. And appreciate your guys' support, man. Fan show ran by fans for fans. We love this, guys. We love everybody being in here. We try to bring you guys the most up-to-date information that we receive, and that's what we're doing, right? So for those of you guys watching, Legend Bay probably flipping back to the Buckeyes, signed Jaquaden Guilford today, and Chris Henry Jr. still has not officially signed anywhere. We're diving into the Indiana game right now, and as Nevada so eloquently put, this game does not have to be close. Nevada, they were talking about, for me, when I look at this game, when you remember last year's game, what is the thing you remember from last year's game? Like if you were to break down a game and talk about, hey, what's the number one reason why Ohio State dominated that game? What would you say last year? What one thing in particular helped us to win the game last year the way we did?
Well, I think we win the game either way. I think the reason the game became lopsided was special teams. When their punter dropped the punt, and Caden Curry came in there, and then they got the punt off, and Caleb Downs returned it into the house for the touchdown. Those obviously broke it open. But the fact that our defense just completely throttled that offense, 'cause I thought that offense last year was really good, and I liked their quarterback Rourke, and I thought they would have some success against our defense, and they really didn't. And let me tell you what, our defense is better this year. Our defense is better this year. So, if you're going to attack the Ohio State defense, and you're going to attack those monsters in the middle, I think defense has always played from the inside out, and we go Caden McDonald, Sonny Styles, Reese, and Downs right down the middle. I think that's a tough out for anybody right there. And I think it's crazy that Ohio State is, in a position that they have improved on defense, averaging 7.75 points per game, after losing 8 starters. And that's absolutely incredible. I follow Ohio State for a living. I would have bet big money that there was no way that we improved upon last year's defensive. How you can't lose your front four on defense and Cody Simon and Lathan Ransom and Denzel Burke and Jordan Hancock and get better. You just can't. It's impossible. And we did. So I think our defense is historically good, and I think that's going to be the story of the game on Saturday night. Is in a historically good defense that shuts down Indiana, throttles them, and then reminds them why the Buckeyes are number one, and they're a good little program, and I respect Indiana, but they don't have the talent of Ohio State, and I think we're going to see that on Saturday night.
Yeah, this kind of ties into the recruiting thing a little bit too, because Buckeye fans, do you remember everybody freaking out about this defensive line and talking about, oh my gosh, we don't have the depth, we don't have the pieces, we just lost all our starters to the NFL. What are we going to do on the defensive line? We got to go get tackles, we got to go get defensive ends in the portal. Well, we did that, and none of them are starters. None of any of them that we got out of the portal that last year are starters. Tywan Malone, Edric Houston, K-Mac, Kenyatta Jackson, Caden Curry, and oh, by the way, CJ Hicks is available for this game as well, which is another big time development. But it goes into that, man. Like, you look at us freaking out in the moment over recruiting, over decisions, and now you fast forward to now, this defensive line is better than last year's defensive line. And Nevada, I asked you that question because to me, last year, our defensive line, we had 5 sacks against them last year. We did not give their quarterback any amount of time to run their offense. This year's Indiana team really big on RPOs, right? When they played Oregon, when they played Penn State, when they played Iowa, the run part of that RPO was shut down, right? And when you run RPOs, you want to try to find the weak link in the defense. Well, it's Ohio State defense. There is no weak link. We're number 2 at rushing defense in the nation. We're the number 1 passing defense in the nation. Indiana runs zone a lot for their offense. Julian Sam at the quarterback position with his processing skills, able to see what they're doing pre-snap, make the decision based off movement of defensive players. He's shown to be elite at doing that. We watched the Wisconsin game. Yes, I know he made a mistake in the Michigan game, but to me, I love seeing that. It shows the composure of Julian saying to make that, to throw an interception, the second pass of the game, and then to come out and act like nothing happened. That's why I was such a fan of Will Howard as well, because I think he did it in a similar way, not in the scum game last year, obviously, but in so many other games, the Penn State game, I love the composure that these Ohio State quarterbacks, especially Julian Sain, bring to the table. Back to what I originally talked about, Nevada, I think this front 7 is just going to overpower Indiana's offensive line in a way that they are not used to seeing, because we know anytime they have been up against a top 25 defense in the nation this year, Nevada, there's only been one time when they averaged rushing for over 3 yards per carry. Iowa, Penn State, Oregon, and Wisconsin, all top 25 rush defenses in the nation. And only one of those games did Indiana rush for over 3 yards a carry. So I think they're going to be forced to go to the air. And then that leaves Iggy, Caleb Downs, McClain, Jermaine Matthews, Lorenzo Styles back there. And show me a better secondary. Show me a better secondary, Nevada.
Well, no, I think it's a great story. I mean, I think for Ohio State, the RPO only works if you have a run option. If you take away the run, then it becomes less effective in terms of what you're doing. And I think Ohio State's so stout against the run. I mean, look against Michigan, we gave up 3 runs for 20, whatever it was, but we pretty much shut their running game down. And then at that point they were done. Now Mendoza can throw a lot better than Underwood, for sure. But I mean that's a pretty low bar. But I think for Ohio State, The game's going to be won on the defensive side of the ball. And then Julian saying, like, as much as I love Will Howard, and I love Will Howard, there is no bigger fan of Will Howard as a person and a player on the planet, not even including his parents, than Nevadabuck. But Julian's better. Julian's just better. Julian's better. Julian might be the best quarterback that I've ever seen in college. I'm just telling you, like, and I'm not saying the best freshman quarterback. I'm not saying the best quarterback at Ohio State. I'm saying the best quarterback that I've ever seen play college football. And I think when it'll be borne out in the NFL draft when he goes. He'll be the first pick in the draft. I think he'll be the first pick in the draft, and I think JJ will be the second pick in the draft. So for Ohio State, I think we've got a lot of weapons in here. We've got motivation, and we ain't playing tight in the game. There's no tightness that's going to be in the game. They realize that they don't have anything to lose. They're going to let a rip tater chip. And I think that's going to be bad news for Indiana on Saturday night. I really do. I'll have my score prediction tomorrow on BuckeyeScoop.com. So you want to come over there and check it out. I'll put exactly how I think this game's going to go. And if you've been following my score predictions this year, you know I've been pretty darn accurate 12 weeks in a row in terms of doing this. I think I got a pretty good handle on this game as well.
Matt, I got a question for you, man. You said Fernando Mendoza won the player of the year in the Big Ten and also quarterback of the year in the Big Ten. Is that accurate?
That is accurate.
So you mean to tell me an Ohio State quarterback can break the all-time completion percentage record in all of college football, all time ever, of all quarterbacks that have ever played? He's thrown more accurately in the regular season than any other quarterback that has ever played college football, and he doesn't get handed the Big Ten Quarterback of the Year award. Is that possible? I mean, what are we doing?
Well, they discount him. Everybody wants to discount him because they're like, well, he's got JJ Smith and he's got Carnell Tate. So like this is no big deal that he's kind of got that. And I think people want to look past it, and they talk about him like he's a game manager, like he's Brock Purdy or he's some sort of dink and dunk guy. And I keep pointing, he's third in the nation in yards per attempt. And so this is not, I mean, his deep ball he's the most accurate deep ball. And again, I'm not talking subjectively, I'm talking about objectively. He's the most accurate deep ball thrower in the history of college football. So you're talking about a guy who's completing passes over 20 yards at like an 80% clip. So it's crazy what he's doing. It's crazy what he's done. I think he's a victim of low expectations because I think people just can't believe how good he is. He looks like Howdy Doody out there. He looks like a young Devin if Devin didn't have a beard and didn't have a mustache and was 25 years younger or something like that. That would be, but I mean, it's just crazy. I mean, he does not look the part. You know what I'm saying? He doesn't look the part of the big tough football player. He looks like the kid, mowing the lawn or, washing your car or something like that. And I just don't think people are making that connect. And I think Mendoza, they want to give it to an upperclassman because he's a 6-year guy. And they kind of feel like, Julian, I have other years to win it, which I think is totally it's garbage because I agree with you. Mendoza has been mid-doza in any of these games against, good defenses. And Julian has been an absolute assassin the entire year. That's why we haven't played any close games because Julian Sayin has not allowed us, he has not put us in a position where we've had to play any close games.
I know. It's wild, man. These awards don't mean much. Luckily, I mean, Ohio State, people talk about, man, are we worried this Brian Hartline thing is going to be a distraction, is whatnot? Well, we've learned one thing about Ryan Day, man. He has went on an absolute terror in getting this team ready to play football. So I'm not concerned about those distractions. I'm not concerned about anything else. I do want one thing to be known. You compared me and Julian Sayin a little bit there. He can probably throw a football better than me. Probably. I haven't thrown one for a minute, so I don't want to give it to him. But one thing he cannot do for sure better than me, Nevada, he cannot hit a golf ball as far as I can. It just can't happen. Just can't happen.
Well, no one can. No one can hit a golf ball first. You're like one of those golf ball hitting machines. I played in a golf tournament one time, one of those tournaments, and they had like one of those air cannons that shot the golf ball or something like that, and you could pay money and use that thing. I'm like, I'm not using the air cannon. I'm using Devin, and I'm just bring Devin out there, and you're going to be my air cannon out there. Just hit the ball.
Well, I'm going on Saturday. I haven't golfed in a week. I'm going to golf on Saturday. So let's pray that it goes straight this time. But Nevada, we got a couple super chats lined up here. Let's dive into them a little bit. ATX, Bucky, thank you so much for the $2. What does mom have against Ohio State? Is it about money? I mean, it's hard to know, right? Like the exact facts, but I think you can sit back and look at how the situation is played out. And when you have a kid that wants here's what we know Legend Bay wants to sign with Ohio State badly. That is one thing we know. No, we're not guessing there. I mean, the morning of signing day, decked out in Ohio State gear, his coaches have said, hey, this young man wants to play for Ohio State badly. So, what other reason would a Texas kid's mom and brother have for wanting their son to play for Tennessee? It's something we're not talking about their home school or anything. Again, so not that connected to the situation, but reading the tea leaves, I don't know that it goes anywhere else. Nevada, got anything to add to that?
Well, again, I will put this in. This is under the category of rumor, but yeah, that's the rumor. That's the rumor is that allegedly there are extra goodies being offered to mom, and that's what's this allegiance change to Tennessee. I do not know that to be true. I feel even a little goofy saying that because I don't know it to be true. But the whole story is so weird that um, it's just weird, and that would make it kind of make sense in terms of some of the weirdness. But it's a weird story, and something's weird's going on, and that's just as likely as anything else. So that's what I got on that one.
Yeah, I feel you. A bunch of rumors floating around. I'll say if half the rumors are true, I mean, I think we can point in one direction. I think it's all pretty obvious to everybody. Ro, thank you so much for the 4.99. Nevada another um, told us how his daughter's boyfriend did during the Michigan game, especially when saying through the interception. I'm not sure what that's about, Nevada. You probably
Yeah,
do. So
we
okay.
we had my daughter's boyfriend was allowed downstairs to watch the game with the family.
Oh,
An
oh.
outsider that was allowed. I want you guys to know that he didn't say a word the entire game. He did not say a word. He was warned beforehand to not show any emotion, not show anything, not ask any questions, not do anything like that. He high-fived appropriately when I was high-five going around the room, high-fiving when we scored with on Innis's touchdown, when we scored on Carnell's touchdown, when we got that last drive and got the field goal, a lot of high fives all the way around the room. Did not utter a word the entire time. So I got to give him two thumbs up for that effort right there because he knew he was told, he followed instruction very well, and it was very pleasant, and he did not spoil the moment for me. So
Nevada, I don't know if you're aware of this or not, but I'll let you know as, I'm not too far off of being a teenager and meeting, my girlfriend's dad and whatnot. But you had the kid scared for his life. That's why he was silent. He was scared for his life. I told you that my niece decided to have friends over that showed up around 2 o'clock. And it was quite funny because around 5, they were all in there eating dinner. And I walked into my Ohio State stuff and I said, hey, make sure you kids go home. Tell your parents Ohio State won today. And all of them were like, we love Ohio State so much. And these are 11-year-old girls that probably have never heard the word Ohio State until I can only imagine them watching me go psycho in my house. And they're like, well, I better say I like Ohio State. It was a pretty funny setup we had going on.
well, I
But
got to tell you,
yes.
just add a little thing to it. My daughter had her roommate with her. My daughter, the hockey player, her roommate is from the Czech Republic, another female hockey player from the Czech Republic, and so she was
Yeah.
in the house, but they weren't on the same floor, but they were hearing all the yelling going on down there, and I think we frightened poor Julie from the Czech Republic right there. I don't because Nevada was I was going kind of nuts. I was going nuts. I was so happy, man. I didn't remember how happy that made me to beat those cheating scumbags. But I was very happy. But yeah, but the boyfriend was good. The roommate was frightened, and all's right in the world.
Yeah. On that note, real fast, Nevada, Michigan came out with a statement saying that they had nothing to do with the communications going off. And matter of
Oh
fact,
yeah.
their staff really helped them. It's the funniest thing in the world because you see other shows and other people reporting, look, Michigan didn't cheat, they didn't do anything. It's just like, man, do I even need to go in why? The fact that you believe that right there makes you probably one of the most ignorant people on the face of this earth. Yeah, let's give Michigan the benefit of the doubt and believe a statement that they say. They're going to come out and say, oh, yeah. It was us. We purposely cut their power off. I mean, get yourself together. You got anything to add to that?
Yeah, I mean that was I mean, look, that was one of the all-time great nuggets. You had first brought that up. We had confirmed that that was something that was a concern before the game. So you guys can check. We have the receipts, man. This was all before the game. We did a podcast on it before the game, so we knew that that was a concern. That was an item, and then lo and behold, Michigan falls behind, and it happens. Like that's not a coincidence. That's not a coincidence. That's not a cosmic accident. That was absolutely the fact that Ryan Day was so concerned about it that they had wristband system, sideline call system. They had the whole thing kind of set up, and then Michigan did it. Yeah, I mean, they are the cheat. They are the worst program in all of college sports. They are the biggest. They have a culture of cheating that is just so firmly ingrained in them. But now we took their souls. They have nothing. They lost that game. The
Yeah.
only thing they had going for them was, hey, we cheated and beat you guys. Now they don't have that anymore, and that nothing makes me happier than seeing those guys sad, and that's beautiful.
Yeah, it was quite funny watching people's responses to that. But haters gonna hate, man. Haters gonna hate. Hey, OSU man, $1.99. Chance we sign a former OSU wide receiver for wide receiver coach. There's plenty of them out there. Nevada, I'll let you start off with this one. Where do you think Brian Day is going to go here?
Well, I think if you look, I always look to, if you want to know where somebody's going, just look where they've been. And I think if you look at his last hires in terms of the stuff that he's done, they've been swinging big on this stuff, and I think that they're going to get, I know for a fact that they've gotten over 100 inquiries from people around the country. The Ohio State wide receiver job,
Golly.
short of being that, is one of the premier jobs in all of sports. It's the glamour position. I mean, Ohio State is everything but if you ask, if you had you gunned your head, Dev, and said, "Hey, what position can only pick one for Ohio State?" You got to go wide receiver with the success of the Ohio State wide receivers in the NFL right now. So you're talking about a premier job, so much interest. I think the challenge for Ryan is to find. There's so many guys that want to do it, but he needs to make sure they're willing to do the work. That they're at the point in their life where, because a lot of these guys have made a lot of money, and do they want to get in there greasy grimy and be a recruiter? Do they want to go out there and do the things that you need to do to be a successful wide receiver coach? But he's got a lot of literally triple digit inquiries in terms of the job. And I think he'll swing big, and he'll come in with they'll come in with an A+ hire. And if you think of it this way, the Hartline situation, we wanted him to be the OC because it was going to be a situation where we didn't want to lose Brian Hartline. We didn't want to lose Brian Hartline. So we were willing to keep a offensive coordinator that really wasn't qualified to do the job. He wasn't, inexperienced, only 12 games. Not saying he's doing a bad job, but he's not an experienced guy in terms of doing it. But we took him anyway because that was his career path. Well, now we're off that. So go get a Chip Kelly or something to be your offensive coordinator, and you hire a hot shot, aggressive, experienced A+ wide receiver coach. Haven't you upgraded? Haven't you upgraded? Because I guarantee we're going to get a better offensive coordinator, and I think we can find a wide receiver coach that can approach the success line Hartline, because we've always recruited great wide receivers to Ohio State. We run a pro style offense, pass first. We get the best quarterbacks in the country, and we have Ryan Day as our head coach. So, not diminishing anything Brian Hartline did, but I think other people. I don't think he's a one of one. I think there are other people that can do at least maybe get up there. Maybe not as perfectly as he did, but get 90% of the way. But if we're 90% of the way there and 200% better offensive coordinator, I think it's an upgrade. So this could be a blessing in disguise.
Yeah, it is an interesting situation because you can only have the 10 countable coaches, right? And that can go out and recruit anyway. So, but you only just lost one of them. You lost your offensive coordinator and your wide receiver coach. I mean, and also there's this. I mean, Nevada, about 2 weeks or a week before Ryan Day actually hires somebody, everybody puts out their lists of who's going to be on that. Well, who had Chip Kelly on their super early lists? Who had Matt Patricia on their super early list? I know Buckeye Scoop led the charge in both of those areas of breaking. One of the first to break when those guys were getting hired, and the Brian Hartline to offensive coordinator broke that first as well. But I'm talking about those initial lists. This is where we are in the timeline of making our initial list. Everybody's talking Chip Kelly. I would love that for him to be hired as offensive coordinator, but I'm just saying, don't be surprised, right? If we're going to make our initial lists and all these information, Ryan Day has his own plans, and I'm going to ride with whatever plan he has because so far, I mean, he's turned into Nick Saban like this is the Ohio State era. So I trust Ryan Day with whatever it is. And we don't know what's going to happen, right? When this season's over, what other coaches might go? What other coaches might go with Brian Hartline? What other coaches might get other opportunities? Just trust Ryan Day to fill in those spots where needed.
But I want to say one thing on that. I really think it's gonna be a Chip Kelly, Brian Dable, like senior level guy, because that's the kind of level, that's the level of hire he went with the Matt Patricia thing. It wasn't promote from within. And for your point about the 10 countable coaches is spot on, but think about it this way: if that's 10 countable, you can have unlimited coaches in terms of on-field coaching, everything else. This is just
Mm-hmm.
for recruiting. So go to a Chip Kelly, who frankly is not a dynamic recruiter, and go, Chip,
Yep.
you're going to be the offensive coordinator, and you don't have to recruit. You don't have to recruit. We'll have somebody else be the, we'll have the 10 countable be this guy, this guy, this guy, this guy. But you don't, all you have to do is get in the lab, do your thing. You don't have to go on the road to recruiting. I think for Chip, I think that's the dream scenario. I think recruiting is the thing he likes the least. Game planning is the thing he likes the most. And what do we don't need him to be a recruiter. We don't need our offensive coordinator to be a dynamic recruiter. We just need 10 guys out on the road. No reason it needs to be Chip Kelly. So just my 2 cents.
Yeah, no, I like that thought there. I mean, yeah, the NCAA changing that rule about the on-field coaching, it does bring that up. It's not like Chip Kelly. I heard of one trip he went on, and it was just because he went back out to Cali for a recruiting trip, saw a quarterback that we didn't even recruit. So yeah, Chip Kelly's not going to be on the road recruiting, and he will gladly say, "Yes, I don't need to be one of the 10 countable coaches." Ro, thank you so much for the 4.99. Take out Jeremiah. How does Chris Henry as a recruit stack up against some of the recent Buckeye wideouts? That's interesting, man, because you see around the nation all these Chris Henry 6'6", 200 pounds, big, tall wide receiver here. And it's really hard, right, at that height, that length to turn yourself into a dynamic wide receiver recruit. So, I mean, it's hard to stack up there physically with people, but if you're talking about as of right now, as a prospect, I would probably put him where Carnell Tate was as a prospect. But that's just me personally. I don't think he's at the Jeremiah Smith. I know he's not at the Jeremiah Smith level yet. He's the Quincy Porter. We got Quincy Porter on the roster. That's where he is at now. We'll see what he develops into. But if you ask me, he's kind of a Carnell Tate or a Quincy Porter when they got brought in. He's for sure a top 10 wide receiver in this class, top 5. I think he's the number 1 prospect, quite frankly. But a lot depends on the development when you come in the program. What are you going to do then, Nevada?
Well, yeah, I mean, I posed this question before, but I think I want to pat myself on the back. I think it's a good one. If Jeremiah Smith had gone to Florida State, like there was a lot of rumors about him going to Florida State, would he be Jeremiah Smith right now? Would he be the same player, the same regard, the same development? I don't think he would. I
No.
just don't think he would. So I think with Chris Henry Jr., I think it really depends on where he goes, how he does it. You're talking about a guy that's had an ACL injury. He is a big guy, because he's so big, not overly fast. He's a 4'6" guy. You know what I'm saying? Like that. He's not a burner, but he is big and creates all sorts of matchup problems, from that standpoint. I think it's going to be all about development. Does he turn out to be Ben Victor? You know what I'm saying? Or does he turn out to be Marvin Harrison Jr.? I don't know where he's fall in terms of that. I think he's got an NFL pedigree and stuff. I think with the right tutelage and the right development, I think he could be really good. But going to Oregon, he'd be the first Oregon wide receiver that has done that. With Ohio State, he'd be like number 50. So, maybe he's going to go blaze a trail there. And if he does, I wish him well in every game other than when he's playing against us. But I don't know. I think he's a real, big upside or big bust, type of guy. And I think a lot of it's going to have to come down to health related. Does he have another injury, and how does that, how does that potentially derail him if it does happen?
Yeah, Ohio State in the last century has put in 17 wide receivers in the top three rounds of the NFL draft. Oregon, 1. Iowa Buck,
Yeah.
wait, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's enough to say about. I don't think you need to say anything else. Iowa Buck, thank you so much for the $1.99. I'm more excited about Brock Boyd, so underrated. Yeah, dude. I mean, Chris Henry's taken up so much things here, and along with these recruiting rankings as well, we got Brock Boyd, we got Jaden Ricketts, and we got Jaquaden Guilford in the fold here. Okay, you look at some wide receivers that have come to Ohio State in the past without the huge recruiting pedigrees, the Chris Olaves, the Jackson Smith and Jigbas of the world, higher rated guys, but not the pedigree at which they're playing at now or at which they played at in college football. So, I mean, Jaquaden Guilford has that potential for sure to come in here and be that Carnell Tate level type of quarterback. And quite frankly, so does Brock Boyd. I have read so many articles that aren't written from some random YouTuber or some Twitter account saying Brock Boyd is the best wide receiver prospect they've seen come out of Texas in a long time. And you can argue that perspective based, all those things. It's all different opinions, but man, we're all caught up in possibly losing Chris Henry Jr. and losing Caden Dixon Wyatt. We signed Brock Boyd, who was an absolute animal, broke every wide receiving record at his high school we possibly could, and is a diehard Buckeye. Like, have you seen his Twitter account, what he's doing? And Jaquaden Guilford, the number one player in Indiana, who went absolutely dumb stupid in his senior year, looked unstoppable. And Jaden Ricketts, who is a 10-5 type of speed dude. Not playing a bunch of receiver. He's more of your developmental type, but he's got the speed to turn into a real dude. Nevada.
Yeah, no, look, Brock. No, Brock Boyd. Like I said, I know people down South Carolina that like he's the best wide receiver to ever come out of here, and the Dragons have had some great wide receivers down there, had some great football players on, so they know a little bit about football down there. They say he's the best wide receiver to ever come out of there. So I am certainly not betting against a kid like that. The one thing I've learned from recruiting is you never know who the gems are going to be. And that goes for just about everybody. The 5-star kids, you can never put them in there, and 3-star kids, you can never count out. You just don't know. But Brock Boyd, yeah, you're looking for an underrated, guy that has the potential to be a superstar. It's Brock Boyd. Big time speed, great tactician, great route runner, unbelievable hands, fearless. I love everything about the kid, so I can't wait to see him in Scarlet and Gray.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. Gio, what up, Gio? Appreciate you joining the show tonight, brother. Thanks for the $5. At Oregon, Decorian Moore will be wide receiver 1 in 2026. He'll also be fighting Jeremiah McClain for wide receiver 2. His QB, Dante Moore, is projected in the 2026 NFL draft. Yeah, man, you take a step back, you take out, we have the advantage as far as losing coaches. They've lost 3 integral parts of their program. We've lost 1. But that's not what it's not looking like what the decision is going to be based on. Me and Nevada covered that already. If one team's offering $1 million and one offering $2 million, it's okay to say that is their right, their decision to say, yeah, we're choosing the bigger bag. Like, everybody avoids saying that. Everybody avoids talking about it like it's a horrible thing. I get why people talk about it in that way. Do I think that is why you should base your decision? No, I don't agree with it. But if I was put in that situation, if most of us are put in that situation, is it not your own right to make that decision on your own? It, in fact, is. So, listen, we can all talk about Brian Hartline and his development, how good he was, but Ohio State's been putting out top NFL prospects for a long time. Why? It's because of the culture that's there, the competitive nature. Mick Mariotti in the weight room is a huge part of that. He is still there. We've been the winningest program in college football in the last 25 years because of that, man. Yes, Brian Hartline was good at recruiting, bringing in elite talent. But, dude, this is Ohio State. We will still put out first round draft picks. So it's just going to happen. Jeremiah Smith is not going to fall off a cliff because Brian Hartline left. Quincy Porter is still going to turn into an absolute dog because of the way Ryan Day runs this program and the way he runs the offense and quarterbacks schematically. Nevada.
I don't think it's the $2 million. I think it's God's plan. God's plan. I prayed about. I prayed about it, and that's like, hey,
Yeah.
sometimes that works for us. Guilford prayed about it and came back to Ohio State. Hausman prayed about it, and God told not to play in the game, but God's plan.
Amen. Hey, yeah.
Amen.
It is
Amen.
what it is, dude. Ro, thank you so much for the $4.99. Yeah, that whole $1 million will throw a wrench in anybody's plan. Anybody's plan. Okay? Like, yeah, good luck to that one. Ro, thank you so much for the $4.99. Dev, great show at the PFF guy in Indiana. I hope you do more for the playoff run so we know our opponents. The plan is to do one for every single opponent. Shout out Dalton Wasserman on PFF. Go follow them on YouTube. Follow him on Twitter. The whole 9 yards. He has been an amazing addition to our shows here on Scoop and the Buckeye Boys. Absolutely amazing addition. Matt, I don't know if you watch that show or not, but dude went deep into every position group, put it out. I'll tell you this, Dalton gave a slight advantage to Indiana in two positions, the running back and the cornerback position for Indiana. But he said you could go either way there, but every other position was an emphatic Ohio State has the advantage. Anything to add to that?
Yeah, I did watch the show and it was great. Like I said, I love stuff like that. I love analytic stuff, and even if you don't agree with it, it gives you some good stuff to think about. And yeah, terrific shows, and looking forward to hearing them in the future.
Gio, thanks for the $5. Who's to say Chris Henry Jr. would have come in and beat out Quincy Porter anyway? Quincy Porter is a talented wide receiver with a year in our system in our strength and conditioning program. Gio, spot on there. Absolutely. I don't think he would. Quincy Porter was the number 3 wide receiver in the 2025 class. The dude is 6'5", 220 pounds, and he's got some playing time this year. We've got a little bit of taste of it. He's elite. I believe Quincy Porter is going to be starting next year. And yeah, you're right. Chris Henry Jr. will be hard-pressed to beat him out of that lineup. Nevada.
Yeah, you look, you just never know. There's nothing guaranteed, and that's why you can't break the bank culturally. You can't, break the bank financially. There's all sorts of reasons why you don't want to throw money at unproven. I mean, you can throw money, but there's risk attached to it. And if when you're talking about $2 million, man, you better be right on that. And I think Ohio State made the right decision, at least in terms of holding the line on that. And I think that's why our culture is so darn good.
Yeah, survived the hunt. Thanks so much for the $4.99. Lott officially signed with Oregon. I just checked that. He did. Does this give us hope for Chris Henry? Go Bucks, Nevada.
I mean, look, I think there's always hope until he signs. You know what I'm saying? Until he signs, there's a reason why he was committed to Ohio State for 3 years. He's got a lot of connections to Ohio State. He said his sister goes here. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of reasons why he'd want to be with the Bucks. And I think until it's signed, it did. So yeah, keep hope alive and monitor the situation. So I guarantee you we'll have updates first and before anybody else.
Yeah, we're all over it. Nothing is official yet. I mean, how many times have we already heard official news on this recruitment? So it's not over yet. We'll see. The only thing I'm concerned about right now is that Ohio State's going on this back-to-back run. Again, we're talking about something that's not going to affect the team for 2 years. We'll readdress this situation in 2 years and see how we feel then. I bet you we feel pretty darn good. Mike Green, thanks for the $1.99. Why wouldn't a wide receiver want to come play alongside JJ? $1 million is one reason. other than that, I can't think of another single reason. Nevada brought up God's plan. That's one you can throw in there. Nevada, you got anything else to
God,
add to God's plan?
God's plan. God's plan's pretty important, man.
That's it.
That's like that's got to be
100%.
number one. I
100%.
prayed on it, God's plan. But I mean, yeah, play alongside JJ and be thrown to by Julian Sane, who throws the most catchable, most accurate ball in the history of college football. Yeah,
Yep.
that's who I want to be my quarterback. And Oregon doesn't even know who their quarterback's going to be. So yeah, it's I guess money talks, but it's a weird one for sure.
It is, man. I just think it's pretty short-sighted, if you ask me. I mean, I don't know. $1 million. Chris Henry signed with Adidas already. Dad played in the NFL. Dude's not hurting for money whatsoever. So I don't know. I don't know the situation. We don't even. He might be a Buckeye. So I'm going to hold off on saying too much. We'll wait and see where he signs. But man, Ohio State looks good, and he would get some playing time as well. Mike Green, thanks for the $1.99. I love Hines Ward for wide receivers coach Nevada.
I mean, Hines Ward's one of my favorite players of all time. You know, one of the smartest players to ever play the game. So yeah, yeah, sign me up for that. If you get Hines Ward, yeah, I'll take him as my wide receiver coach anytime.
Ernie Gonzalez, thanks so much for the $1.99. Couldn't Day go after Shanahan, OH? Yeah, he could. He can kind of go after whoever he wants. He got Matt Patricia, and Nevada already told you over 100 inquiries. So we'll wait and see. Let this thing play out. I do promise you this. If you want to find out before anybody else in the country who Day is going to replace him with, go sign up for the Buckeye Scoop message board. It's not a sales tactic. It's just a fact. Before I ever worked here, I was a fan. And I promise you, I was subscribed to every site you can name, and it was Buckeye Scoop every time before anybody else. It just is what it is. If you want the news first before anybody, go do it. It's not that expensive. What is it, like 10 cents a day, Nevada? What is it?
It's way more. It's 30 cents a day. It's 30 cents a day for
Oh,
the
yeah, then
amount of
never mind.
yeah.
Don't do it.
Yeah, that's it. 30 cents, but 10 cents I'm in. 30 cents. It's 30 cents a day. Yeah, the money that you find like underneath your table or something like that for the price of a slice of cheese on your thing. Yeah.
Here we go. Greg's, what's up, brother? Appreciate you in the chat every night. This is the final super chat of the night. Thank you so much for the $5. Dev, there's brand new report by Will Fong. Will Fong never misses anything. Dude, spot on with everything he says. That's sarcasm. But that Ryan Day is now in constant contact with Chris Henry. Greg's, I don't know who this Chris is, but I'm going to look into him, Henry Jr. I reposted on Twitter. We'll dive into that. As me and Nevada have stated multiple times throughout the show, this thing ain't over. It's not over. Chris Henry, a lot of connections to Ohio State, and he's already got, I don't know how many Ohio State Buckeyes signed jerseys out there that he's sold already. So this thing ain't over, man. Not that Wilfong's the place to go for your information, but he does get some things right from time to time. But this thing, it's just not over at all. It's not over.
Yeah, I mean, Ohio State feels like they're still in it, and as long as you got a chip in a chair, and the guy hasn't signed with somebody else, look, there's a reason why he committed to Ohio State 3 years ago. He wants to say yes to Ohio State. I think Ohio State just wants to give him the reasons to say yes, and I think if they give him the reasons, they still could get his signature on a paper. So stay tuned.
I mean, shout out to Chris Henry Jr. for hearing Ohio State out, taking his time, because you got to remember this coaching staff is also trying to prepare for a Big Ten title game in the playoffs. Can you imagine Coach Day in this coaching staff right now? Nevada? Look what Coach Day has went through in the past 2 years. How does the dude still have any black hair on his? How does he not have a full gray head of hair already? It amazes me, bro. That would be. I'd lose my crap. We are blessed to have Ryan Day as our head coach. We might want to remember that and keep that on our minds. But anyway, guys, thank you so much for joining the show tonight. Packed full between Twitter and everything else. There's 23,000 people that have watched the show tonight. So appreciate you guys so much for joining us. Stay tuned for more shows to come out. We'll be breaking down Indiana and Ohio State tomorrow. Somebody will be on here. doing that. And then the Big Ten title game post-game show will be on here promptly to cover that as well. Nevada, any final thoughts for Buckeye Nation?
Keep an eye on Legend Bay. Keep an eye on the Chris Henry Jr. Commitment. That story's not been written yet, and we'll have it breaking it at BuckeyeScoop.com. And we just appreciate you being here tonight. So thank you guys all for listening.
Yeah, appreciate you guys. Love you guys. Keep your heads up, man. Big Ten title game. We'll worry about 2 years from now when 2 years from now gets here. But Saturday is close, man. Buckeyes on the back-to-back run right now. So get excited. Turn your focus and attention towards that. Head on over to Buckeye Scoop to get the information the fastest. On that note, appreciate you guys. Love you guys. Go Buckeyes. OH.
IO.